Hi everyone, today we're going to talk about math rules about adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing fractions. So when it comes to adding fractions, all we have to do is add the numerators and we keep our denominator. So if I have 2/5 plus 1/5, I have 1, 2, 3/5. I now have 3 shaded. So I just do 2 plus 1, which is 3, and I keep my denominator. So now pause the video and try these out. And when you're ready, unpause and let's go straight into it. So here we have 2 plus 1, which is 3, and we keep our denominator, so we just have 4. So 2 over 4 plus 1 over 4 is equal to 3 over 4. Here we have 3 over 6 plus 2 over 6. 3 plus 2 is 5, and then we keep our denominator. 4 plus 2 is 8, and then we keep our denominator. And then here we have 5 plus 3, which is 8, and we keep our denominator. And we could simplify this. When there is something that both the numerator and the denominator can be divided by, we should always try to simplify. In this case, both 8 and 6 can be divided by 2. And you always want to divide them by the same number. So 8 divided by 2 is 4, and 6 divided by 2 is 3. Therefore, 5/6 plus 3/6 is equal to 8/6, which we simplified to 4/3. When it comes to subtracting fractions, it's kind of the same thing, except now we're subtracting. So here we had 4 blocks, and then we eliminated 1, which is why we're now left with just 3. 4 minus 1 is 3, and we always keep our denominator. So try these out. Pause the video, and when you're ready, unpause. 3 minus 1 is 2, and we keep our denominator. And remember, we could always simplify this by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 4 divided by 2 is 2. 5 minus 2 is 3, and we keep our denominator. And we could divide both 3 and 6 by 3. So that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to divide both of them by 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1, and 6 divided by 3 is 2. So therefore, 5 over 6 minus 2 over 6 is equal to 3 over 6, which we simplified to 1/2. 4 minus 2 is just 2, and we keep our denominator. 6 minus 3 is 3, and we keep our denominator. But now, what happens when we are given different denominators? Well, we want to find what we call our least common denominator, also known as LCD. And the way we find this is through finding our least common multiple. So for example, multiples of 6 are 1 times 6, which is 6, 2 times 6, which is 12, 3 times 6, which is 18, and 4 times 6, which is 24. So 6, 12, 18, and 24 are all multiples of 6. And now we want to find our multiples of 3. Multiples of 3 are 1 times 3, which is 3, 2 times 3, which is 6, 3 times 3, which is 9, and 4 times 3, which is 12. And now here I see that my least common multiple is 6. So I could multiply this times 1, so therefore it just stays the same. And now I'm going to convert 3 into 6 by multiplying it by 2. But I want to convert my entire fraction, which means that whatever I do on the bottom, I have to do on the top. So therefore, we keep this 2 over 6, and then we're going to keep their plus, and then now we do 1 times 2, which is 2, and then 3 times 2, which is 6. And then we add them like normal. 2 plus 2 is 4, and we keep our denominator. And I could simplify this. I could divide both by 2, and I get 2 over 3. And that is my final answer. So now let's do another example. Let's find our multiples of 4. 1 times 4 equals 4. 2 times 4 equals 8. 3 times 4 equals 12. And 4 times 4 equals 16. Now let's do it of 3. 1 times 3 equals 3. 2 times 3 equals 6. 3 times 3 equals 9. And 4 times 3 equals 12. As we could see, our least common denominator is 12. So we're going to write LCD is 12. So I'm going to multiply 4 times 3 because that's what's going to give me my denominator. That's what's going to give me 12. And whatever I do on the bottom, I do on the top. Same thing for 3. I'm going to multiply 3 times 4 to give me that LCD. And whatever I do on the bottom, I do on the top. 3 times 3 is 9. 4 times 3 is 12. I keep that minus. 2 times 4 is 8. And 3 times 4 is 12. And like that, they have the same denominator. And now we just subtract them like normal. 9 minus 8 is 1, and we keep our denominator. So now take a moment to try these out. And when you're ready, unpause, and let's get straight into it. Let's write our multiples of 5. 1 times 5 equals 5. 2 times 5 equals 10. 3 times 5 equals 15. And 4 times 5 equals 20. Now 4, 1 times 4 equals 4. 2 times 4 equals 8. 3 times 4 equals 12. 4 times 4 equals 16. We still haven't found that least common multiple, so I'm going to keep going. 5 times 4 equals 20, and like that, I found my least common multiple. So that means that my least common denominator is 20. So I'm going to multiply 5 times 4, and what I do on the bottom, I always do on the top. So 8 over 20 plus, and then 4 times 5 gives me 20. So 1 times 5 is 5, and 4 times 5 is 20. And 8 plus 5 is 13, and we keep our denominator. For number 2, my multiples of 6 are 1 times 6, which is 6, and 2 times 6, which is 12. And automatically, I could see that 2 times 6 gives me 12, which is the denominator of the second fraction, which means I could just use my LCD of 12. I'm going to do 6 times 2, and then whatever I do on the bottom, I always do on the top. 3 times 2 is 6. 6 times 2 is 12, plus 2 over 12, and that gives me 8 over 12. And I could simplify this. I could simplify both by dividing by 4. 8 divided by 4 is 2, and 12 divided by 4 is 3. Therefore, my final answer would be 2 over 3. Here, my multiples of 2, 1 times 2 equals 2, 2 times 2 equals 4, 3 times 2 equals 6, and 4 times 2 equals 8. For 3, 1 times 3 equals 3, 2 times 3 equals 6, and already I could see that my least common multiple is going to be 6. So I'm going to now multiply each number by what's going to give me that 6. 2 times 3, and then 4 times 3. Whatever I do on the bottom, I do on the top. 4 times 3 is 12. 2 times 3 is 6, minus 3 times 2, 2 times 2. 2 times 2 is 4. 3 times 2 is 6. 12 minus 4 is 8 over 6. Now I'm going to make some space here. And I could simplify by dividing both my bottom and the top by 2, and I get 4 over 3 as my final answer. And now for this last one, I'm going to have 7. 1 times 7 equals 7. 2 times 7 equals 14. I could already see that my least common denominator is going to be 14. So I'm going to multiply both the bottom and the top by 2. So I get 10 over 14 minus 3 over 14, which gives me 10 minus 3 is 7. I keep my denominator, and I could simplify both of these by 7. 7 divided by 7 is 1, and 14 divided by 7 is 2. Therefore, my final answer is 1/2. Now, multiplying fractions is a lot easier because we don't need a common denominator when it comes to multiplying and dividing fractions. We only ever need that common denominator when it comes to adding and subtracting, but never multiplying and dividing. So that's the one key difference that you want to learn. So when it comes to multiplying fractions, all we have to do is multiply the numbers straight across. 4 times 1 is 4, and 3 times 2 is 6. And that's it. That's all we have to do. And now let's simplify. Let's divide both by 2, and I get 2 over 3. So take a moment to try these. Now keep in mind that whenever we have a whole number, there's always an invisible 1 underneath. Why? If I have 10 over 2, well, that's the same thing as division. It's the same thing as saying 10 divided by 2, which is 5. Well, for whole numbers, 3 is the same thing as saying 3 over 1. And 3 over 1 is 3 divided by 1, which is just 3. So in the end, underneath those whole numbers, there's always an invisible 1. So keep that in mind when you're multiplying. And when you're ready, unpause the video and let's get into it. So we just put that 1 underneath because 3 over 1 could always just simplify to 3. But to make it easier for us to multiply, we just add that 1 underneath. So 2 times 3 is 6, and 4 times 1 is 4. And I could simplify by dividing both by 2, and I get 3 over 2. And that is my final answer. Here I'm going to do 2 times 2, which is 4, and 5 times 3, which is 15. And that's it. I can't simplify it, so that's my final answer. 3 times 4 is 12, and 6 times 7 is 42. And I could simplify this. I could divide both 12 and 42 by 6. 12 divided by 6 is 2, and 42 divided by 6 is 7. Therefore, my last answer is 2 over 7. 8 times 4 is 32, and 2 times 6 is 12. I could divide both of these by 4, and I get 32 divided by 4 is 8, and 12 divided by 4 is 3. Therefore, my final answer is 8 over 3. Now, the last part of our video is going to be all about dividing fractions. And dividing fraction is probably the most trickiest, but once you get the hang of it, it's actually very simple. So the first thing we have to do is you have to keep the first fraction, then we're going to change the sign, and then we're going to flip the second fraction. An acronym for this is KCF. Keep, change, flip. So what I mean by this is that you're going to literally keep this first fraction. So I'm just going to keep it the same. 4 over 7. First step, done. Now I'm going to change my sign. So I'm always going to change my division symbol to multiplication. And remember, this is only apply when dividing fractions. So there, I changed my sign. And now the last step is to flip the second fraction. So instead of 3 over 2, I'm going to write 2 over 3. And there you go. And now we just multiply like normal. 4 times 2 is 8, and 7 times 3 is 21. Then I'll take a moment and pause the video to try these out. And when you're ready, let's get started. I'm going to have that 1 underneath. So I'm going to remember KCF. Keep, change, flip. I'm going to keep my first fraction. I'm going to change my symbol, and I'm going to flip 3 over 1 to now 1 over 3. So in case you're a little bit confused, I rewrote 3 as 3 over 1, and the way that I flip it is that I put 1 on top, and I put 3 on the bottom, and that's how it gave me 1/3. And now I just multiply. 2 times 1 is 2, and 4 times 3 is 12. And I could simplify this by dividing both by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 12 divided by 2 is 6. We're going to keep, change, and I'm going to flip my second fraction. And now I'm going to multiply like normal. 2 times 3 is 6, and 5 times 2 is 10. I'm going to divide everything by 2, and 6 divided by 2 is 3, and 10 divided by 2 is 5. Therefore, my final answer is 3 over 5. We're going to keep the first fraction, we're going to change that symbol, and we're going to flip the second fraction. 3 times 7 is 21, and 6 times 4 is 24. And I could simplify this. I could divide 21 and 24 by 3. 21 divided by 3 is 7, and 24 divided by 3 is 8. Therefore, my final answer is 7 over 8. Now for our last question of the day, remember we're going to keep that first fraction, then we're going to change our sign, and then we're going to flip the second fraction. 8 times 6 is 48, and 2 times 4 is 8. And we could simplify this. 48 divided by 8, remember that fractions are just division. So 48 divided by 8 is just 6. So my final answers are 1 over 6, 3 over 5, 7 over 8, and 6. And that's it.